Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob. And let's get the show on the road.
Oh, yes. And we got some big news here today. Today was officially the deadline day. The final countdown is over. Oh, yes. The final countdown. So I gotta say, this is like one of those days that it's like my heart and my brain are in different spots. You know, so for those who have been living under a rock for the last 5 hours, first off, welcome. How is Aaron Rodgers doing? But second off, Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants did not come out to a long-term deal here. So now the options that Saquon is left with is sign the tag, play for $10 million for this year, or Le'Veon Bell it and sit it out.
And look how well that did for Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell came out this week even and said he should never have done it.
Yeah, I mean...
He also said he should never have played for the Jets. A lot of people have said that over the years.
Oh, yeah, I mean... I think Jets fans say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's... This whole thing is just... It's absolutely insane. So... You know, the big rumor has been going around all week long, basically, was that the Giants offered him $13 million per year, $19.5 million guaranteed. Over the weekend, the rumor was that the Giants went to $22.5 million guaranteed, which basically guaranteed him what he would make this year on the tag and next year on the tag. That's basically what they did. And by all accounts, I think pretty fair. Now, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post has been on this pretty well, so I got to give him a little kudos on that one. Here's what he said, and this is an exact quote of what he said. He said, the Giants didn't budge off an offer of $11 million per year with a guarantee slightly north of $22 million, even though it was within $1 million to $2 million on both ends of Barkley's reduced asking price, sources told the Post. So it sounds like the report this weekend that the guaranteed money went up may have been accurate, but the value overall of the deal went down as a result. A little give and take, though. That's fair, I think. That's fair.
Well, yeah. It's contractual, pretty much bid it. That's what you got to do. You got to protect your assets on both sides.
Exactly. So Joe Shane, at the end, did not cave to give Saquon what he wanted. It's and the crazy thing is afterwards, the only comment from Saquon is him on Twitter saying, "It is what it is." So it seems like both the Giants and Barkley are resigned to just be okay with the fact that if they were that close and neither one of them budge, both of them are okay with
They
being
both call each other's bluff.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Saquon would prefer not to.
Yeah.
Saquon would prefer that, he has the deal he wants, but he's willing to bet on himself and thinks he's going to get the deal he wants next year, which to me is just batshit crazy, but, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
I mean,
as Saquon said, as great Saquon Barkley says, it is what it is.
I mean, it's not like he's had two stellar back-to-back years.
No.
So
his first 2 years were the only years he had. They were good back-to-back, and even the second year wasn't that great. Not compared to
he started getting injured. Yeah, so he comes back. He plays like he did this past year. He might get paid again. But it's also kind of alluded to that no running backs are getting paid.
No, we're going to go
around the league.
We're going to go over that with everybody in a minute here because I want to recap what's happened this offseason to running backs as a whole, because I think he's going to illustrate the points that we're going to make here as we go on with this episode here. Before we get started with that, though, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that like, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Glad to have you guys aboard here. I know it's going to be a big episode here. They're going to have a lot of people we may not have seen before. Appreciate you guys joining aboard. Become a fellow goofball. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, that little bell on YouTube. We appreciate it. All right, so let's take a look here. We got a couple comments here. We got Mark here under his YouTube. What? You're doing like Budweiser over here. We got, is it Kevo Montone Jr.? I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. If I'm doing it wrong, feel free to let me know, man. It says, I'm not understanding this. Barkley did a lot for us, and we're not paying him. Smack my head.
I shake my head.
Shake my head. I always say smack my head. I can't help it. Listen, I'm old. I don't know these things. Yeah, smacking. You're smacking. You're not. Yeah, see? You get it. Anyway, yeah. I mean, it's where we got to go in the blame game, which we're going to get to in a minute here. Who do we blame for this in the end? Big Blue in the Bronx. What's up, guys? By the way, anybody who hasn't liked this channel here that you're seeing up on the screen right now on YouTube, Big Blue in the Bronx, great programming, not just doing football, but also baseball, hockey. They talk it all. So feel free, if you're a New York sports fan in general, to hit the like on that page there. They said Giants did the right thing today. I'm inclined to agree very much with them. I'll put it that way. Let's see.
Correct.
Yeah. Like I said, heart and brain, different places, but the brain's got to win in the end.
This is, at the end of the day, as much as Barkley's done for us, like, it is business.
Yeah. Let's see. Marco says, ready to see how many people here blame Jones for Barkley not signing. Listen, Jones had nothing to do with that. The Jones deal did not preclude them from offering Barkley what they think is a fair market value based on what running backs are being paid. They would have made him one of the top 5 paid running backs in the entire NFL. That's fair. He's a top 5 running back. He's not the number 1. Let's be very frank here. He is not the number 1, and that's not a disrespect to the man. I like Barkley. I like the way he plays, especially last year. He showed a lot of heart. But in the end, is he as talented as King Henry?
I mean, you could argue that, especially looks like the Treds are kind of running off King Henry.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm saying just over the last 5 years or so, you would not say he's the top running back in the league over the last 5 years.
No. You could throw him in the conversation, but no.
Exactly. So you pay him like a top 5, you're offering him a correct amount of money. Kevo says, Barkley was offered $22 million a year and turned it down. No, he wasn't offered $22 million a year. No one's getting paid that. He offered $22 million guaranteed over the term of the contract. So,
which seems like
it was offered $22 million. He would have signed really quickly. He would have faxed that offer right over. Do they still fax offers? I don't even know. I don't know. What's the proper protocol? What's the proper protocol now with that?
An e-signature.
Yes. If you could email that to me, please, to my Gmail
account. Electronic mail.
Beef says, anybody that did not see this happening was crazy. They made him offers. He turned them down. That's why they tagged him. 3 of the top running backs in the league are all tagged with no contract. The running back market is low. Listen, this is not just low. This is like a limbo low.
Like historic low.
Whew. I mean, short of got low. That's how bad it is, okay? There's no apple bottom either. I mean, it's crazy. We're gonna get into that in a minute here. I just want to run through the comments here. As Kevo says, hopefully on to Dalvin Cook. No, we're not going to the Dalvin Cook. I can tell you that right now. Barkley will be a Giant this year, and he will play all year long. Is at least my opinion. We're gonna get to that part in a minute here too as well. Jumping the gun again. Jumping the gun. Stan Jones says,
"Why don't you step to the side?"
I don't know. Can't shoot above. I don't know. Stan Jones says running backs don't matter much in today's NFL. As we're talking about jumping a gun, here's a Teletubby with a gun here in England.
I was about to say, it's pretty
that's Stan Jones's logo there. It's a nice little profile there. I mean, we're going to get into that part as well. So I don't want to get too much comments here, but I want to give everybody a chance to get their comments up here. He says, thank God Joe Shane is around because Ghetto Clown would have given him a huge deal. Listen, Gettleman would have paid him McCaffrey money. I have no doubt in that.
100%.
He would have probably reset the market.
This deal.
He would have reset. Listen,
He's worth 18.
He needs some hog mollies over here. You got to park the car at the hobbo and here. Next thing you know. Deb says, I don't like what happened with Barkley either. Sat thinking today that there is no loyalty from teams to players and players to team. All about money. The only loyalty comes from the fans. I'll say this, Deb. I agree and disagree with your statement there because it's a business and it has to be for both sides. But at the same point, the loyalty from fans, I would say, is not always there either. How many times have you seen Giants fans boo players like Evan Ingram? We don't necessarily always have the loyalty to the individual players. We do to the team. That we do. You don't see. I mean, we're negative Nancy's half the time. That's for damn sure. But
there used to be blowout games before we started this podcast. Many times where I took off that TV and walked out the door.
I swear my wife loves whenever the Giants are bad because she knows I don't want to watch them as much. It's like I have to walk away so I don't throw things at the TV. So Stan says that's a great indicator that Mara didn't meddle in this, and I think he's probably talking about the $2 million thing we talked about that came from Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. And yeah, I mean, he didn't meddle, and by all accounts, he meddled. And I don't want to put that necessarily in negative connotation because he got the job done. He did call up Daniel Jones at the last minute and helped get that done. He doesn't sound like that happened this time, or if he did, it just didn't get the job done when he made the call. That's for sure. So we got Kivo says Stan Jones again. He deserves it. He carried that team on his back. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that part. Soul Brother number 1, what's good, dudes? What's up, man?
What's up, my man?
And King Chris TV, long time no see, man. He says not paying Saquon is crazy. Keep on watching comments. We're gonna get into those. We're gonna get into them. Stan Jones. The crazy thing is these running backs in the NFL can complain all they want, but the fact of the matter is they all agreed to the CBA. It's a union contract, and they agreed to it. Shake my head. See, I said it right that time, Rob. If they don't like it, they should have voted no. Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, when the CBA comes up, I think there's going to be a very specific conversation on running backs. I really do, because this has gotten out of hand. There's my dad on the program as well. What's up, Dad? It says you have to stick to paying players based on the pay structure for their position. The Giants signed and drafted to emphasize the passing game, so everyone should have seen this coming. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. Ben Cornett, what's up, Ben? Says, I understand Barkley was a vital part of the Giants' success last year, but I'm still skeptical of him staying healthy long-term. And in my opinion, I believe the Giants feel the same way, thus the possible reason they didn't give him a new deal. Listen, we talked about this before. I don't think the Giants wanted to pay him. I really don't. Mark says, if Barkley had receiver numbers like his rookie year, 90 catches, 720 yards, 4 touchdowns, he wouldn't have had a better case. He would have had a better case for the money he wanted. He only had 53 catches, 340, and 0 touchdowns last year. Exactly, 100%. All right, we're going to go back to the comments in this section because in a second. We got a ton of comments here. I want to make sure we get to everybody, but I also want to go over some of the stuff here overall as well. So let's go over this offseason with running backs because we really have to talk about that because it's part of why this all went down.
Yeah,
so
I mean, everyone wants to talk about CMC, him getting paid last year. I mean, look what happened during the year. We've talked about that as well.
Well, he got paid a couple of years ago, but still, he's not getting paid yet. We've gone over that as well. The Niners have not paid him much money at all yet because the Panthers, where they structured the deal, the guaranteed money obviously already got paid by the Panthers in the signing bonus. But the very first couple of years, the number was lower to keep that cap number down to help the Panthers. So now the Niners are benefiting from paying him a couple $1 million a year, and that's it. Next year is when they have to pay him. Next year. Let's see if McCaffrey's still a 49er next year. But here's what we're looking at this offseason. Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, both took major pay cuts. Major pay cuts. I mean, I don't have Aaron Jones' number in front of me, but Mixon was just last week. That was like almost $5 million he cut off his number this year. $5 million. The guy's already has over 5,000 career rushing yards. He's a good running back. Horrible person from all accounts. Good running back, though.
So here, allegedly.
I said by all accounts. That means working in the clear. Can't get sued. Can't sue us, Joe. Can't do it. Bet you want to.
I mean,
do it.
But there's a reason why he takes a $5 million pay cut. He sees the writing on the wall.
Yes.
And if you want to stay with a team like the Bengals, you're gonna have to. You got to work it around, right? If you have
either that or
the opportunity,
go play for the Cardinals or somebody like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you got the opportunity to win a Super Bowl. Like, I mean, they've been playing a Super Bowl caliber team for the past few years now. So if you want to take a pay cut to get tough ring, that's what you do, I guess. Otherwise, you go to the Cardinals and win 4 games.
It's exactly what happens. So now, this same offseason, you've had Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette all cut by their teams. These are big name running backs in this league, all cut within the same offseason. You have Saquon, obviously, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, all tagged. All 3 of them without a long-term deal. All 3 of them, no long-term deal. You have Austin Eckler at the beginning of the offseason demanding a new deal, not getting one, then demanding a trade. Couldn't find a trade partner. Ended up settling for an additional $1.75 million in incentives the Chargers offered him to appease him. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 running backs this offseason. Like bigger name running backs. Like this is not like I don't know who this person is. This is like starting caliber running back names.
Yeah.
All affected negatively in the market this offseason. That's a staggering number. Keep in mind, there's 32 teams, guys. You're talking almost a third of the league's running backs basically got affected by this. That's big time percentage there. Big time. So then let's look at the free agents this offseason. The biggest one was Miles Sanders, formerly of the Eagles, now over to the Panthers. 4 years, $25 million, guys. $13 million guaranteed. He had 1,347 total yards this past season. 1,300 yards. That's a guy that usually makes out like a bandit when he hits the open market. That's usually what happens. Then you get David Montgomery, who's a dual threat receiving, rushing guy, has been around the league for a few years with the Bears. He gets signed to 3 years, $18 million. $11 million guaranteed. He had 1,117 total yards last season. Then you got Jamal Williams. 3 years, $12 million. $8.15 million guaranteed. So he's had a good percentage of it guaranteed. But it's $4 million a year, folks.
Yeah, that's
1,139 total yards. Led the NFL in rushing touchdowns at 17 last season. Can't get paid. Now, by comparison, Saquon had 1,650 total yards. More yards. It's fair to say Saquon is a better player than these other players.
But at the same token, we just talked about multiple players that get multiple years, 3 years, not even making $20 million, and he's,
And those, by the way, folks, are the only 3 running backs that got a 3-year or more deal this offseason. The only 3. That's staggeringly low. Now, like I said, you look at Saquon and go, okay, that's a lot better. 1,650 yards. He had, a decent amount more yards than either of these 3 guys. He deserves a lot more money. Saquon led the NFL at running back position, at least 856 snaps. That average is 1.93 yards per snap. I did the math here. Oh, yes. 1.93 yards per snap. Now, let's look at what the other three did that got signed this offseason. David Montgomery, 629 snaps, 1.78 yards per snap. Saquon's much better than that. Miles Sanders, 673 snaps. That's a 2 yard per snap average. That's better than Saquon. Jamal Williams, 459 snaps. That's a 2.48 yard per snap average. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect Barkley. Barkley is a great player. He is a top tier running back. What I'm getting at is he's not worth the money based on the current market. The current market says what the Giants were willing to pay him, 11 million, 13 million, whatever it was.
It's a pretty darn good deal.
It was a damn good deal for Saquon based on what the other guys are getting paid. That's almost twice, depending if it was 11 or 13. Let's call it twice. Let's call it. That's an even at the 12 there. That's twice what Miles Sanders got. Twice. Almost twice as much guaranteed because you got 13 million guaranteed. In my mind, the Giants did right by Saquon. Saquon did right for Saquon as well. In his mind, he'd rather play the year out, go at this again next year, and hope to get more money.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Both parties did what they thought was right for Barkley.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because to me, Barkley should have signed this deal all day long. Regardless if it's $11, $13 million, I don't even need to know the exact numbers to give. This is what Barkley should have done, synopsis on this. They offered you more money than anybody else by far this offseason. By far. I know it's not what you want.
Yeah.
You are a running back. You get hurt this year, you could never get a big payday like that ever again offered. That's the life you live at the position you play.
Plus, he's in the New York market. You know how much advertising money he can make just
huge
with that alone? It's not even disclosed. Huge. Like, it's not like he's playing in Arizona. It's not like he's going out there and, in the middle of nowhere where you're not going to get that advertising money like you can in New York.
Yeah, huge. So let's go back to some of the comments here so we don't get too behind the comments because we got a lot of comments, guys. Appreciate it. Keep them coming, guys. Stan Jones says, we didn't overpay the draft blunder of 2018. That's pretty much right. Stan also says, the tag for Jones would have been $40 million a year. It was a smart business deal as much as I'm not a Jones fan. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to pay – if you paid Jones $40 million a year, first off, Saquon's not a Giant. Guaranteed right now. Saquon is not a Giant. Bye-bye. Bobby Okereke, not a Giant. Bye-bye. All these guys that we signed this offseason, Robinson, Nacho, these guys, a lot of them are probably not Giants because his cap number this year is 18. You'd have $22 million you'd have to figure out. So, yeah, it's 100% was the right move. Connor, what's up, man? He says, what I missed. Did they sign Cook yet? What is it with Cook? We're not, guys, we're not getting Cook. We're not getting Cook.
I don't know why everyone's thinking that.
King Chris TV says it was about guaranteed money, and he has the same importance to the Giants as Henry does with the Titans. I agree with about the guaranteed money. That I do. I'm not so sure on the importance part, but that's because I like Jones better than Tannehill, especially last year when Tannehill was hurt and he had, Malik Willis just looking horrendous out there. Let's see. My dad says Barkley is not a top-tier yards after contact back. He's typically not. Connor says, Facts offer reminds me of a scene in Jerry Maguire movie, Tom Cruise for Rod Tidwell. Show me the money. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. Let's see. King Chris TV says, if they not going to value the RB position, they might as well take the position out of the game. Now he's quoting Derrick Henry because that's what Derrick Henry said on Twitter. That's exactly what Derrick Henry said on Twitter. And listen, again, Derrick Henry is on a big contract that they've been looking to potentially get out of themselves for the last year or two, because Derrick Henry is successful, yes, but we don't have to go over the meme again. It's all over Facebook every time a running back thing happens, do we? On how much money that the Super Bowl winning teams pay running backs. I think in the last 20 years, none of them have paid more than $2 million a year to the starting running back.
Something like that.
It's not that the position doesn't have a value. It's just that value has gone down tremendously. And there's ways to manufacture offense without running the ball being part of how you do it. Stan says it's business. It's not personal. It's 100% right.
100%.
Mark says position value. It's like the stock market. It will go up eventually and then back down. I'm not so sure. We're going to see on that. I'm not so sure that's what happens there. Mark says Barkley season averages 850 yards, 12 touchdowns. 12 games, 6 touchdowns, not top 5 running back numbers. I'll say it this way: top 5 running back ability, then, if that makes you happier, Mark, because he's definitely top 5 running back in ability, and that's what I mean by that. Yeah. We're gonna like just stats. I'm gonna give you a quote from Mr. Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain himself. There are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics. Just saying.
It's true.
Creighton Chris TV says Mixon also has Chase, Higgins, Boyd, and Burrows. It's 2 completely different situations. It's not. It's not, though. It's about money in the end, because Barkley still has, other people he has to worry about paying as well. So, you want him to not sign Andrew Thomas because they gave $15-16 million to Saquon Barkley? Did you not want them to go sign Bobby Okereke this offseason? It's a different scenario. King Chris TV says Miles Sanders had A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Hurts, and the number 1 O-line in the league. Can't compare his situation to Saquon's. You can. Both things can be correct at the same time. You can sit there and say Miles Sanders is a much better situation last year than Saquon did. You can also say that Saquon didn't have the same tools that Miles Sanders had, but their years were very similar as far as rushing-wise, at least. It's a fair statement to say on both accounts. My whole point I'm getting at is Miles Sanders is not half the running back, literally half the running back that Saquon Barkley is. He's not. You can say he's 3/4. You can say he's 3/4. That's fair. I'm just saying he's not half. Stan says Miles Sanders is hurt all the time. Not last year. And you can make the same case for Barkley, too. Connor says, always wanted to take McCaffrey 1 because of his dad played for us, too. He was just so good. You could see he'd be great. Wonder how that would have turned out him on our team if we were up to him. How much? But Ed McCaffrey, yeah. Listen, Ed McCaffrey was a product also where he was at. Keep in mind, he had John Elway. He had Rod Smith with him. He was perfect scenario. Terrell Davis, obviously. King Chris TV, backup running backs. I said backup wide receivers, sorry. Shouldn't be making more money than starting running backs. Now, that I will agree on. But in a different way. The wide receiver market is way overinflated. It's like the opposite of running backs. And that's why, again, you're using a quote from Austin Eckler. And again, it's not wrong. It's 100% right. But like I said, both cases are right in that scenario. Running backs are underpaid. Wide receivers are overpaid. Stan Jones says, hopefully we can try and get some trade value for Barkley by week during the 2023 season. I would disagree there. I don't want Barkley gone. He says, if the team's bad, they better sell. My hope is you're just not bad. And
back to the playoffs.
And the Titans are in QB hell. Yes, they are. Let's see. My dad says, if I remember correctly, Barkley was the 5th in the league for percentage of total offense, not close to Henry or Jacobs. I don't have that stat in front of me, to be honest. I'd have to look that one up. The last comment, Mark says, franchise tag for running backs in 2016, 11.8, 10.1 in 2023. Yeah. I mean, that's showing right there. What other position is going down in value that much? That's what's crazy about it. So, I'm looking at the stats overall for Barkley, and I was kind of curious because we had some games, remember, this year where Barkley was like the entire offense. We had other games this season where Barkley just didn't run the ball that much, whether it was a shoulder injury, whatever the case may be.
Let's say was it week 7 or 8 when he ran for like 60 yards, but 2 weeks prior it was 160 yards.
Yeah. So in games when Saquon carried the ball 20 or more times, the Giants averaged 20.5 points per game. Not the best. I mean, they were the best offense overall, let's be honest. When they scored 24 points or more, which was only 4 times all year, for the record, 4 times, he averaged 15.25 carries. You could argue by looking at the numbers last year that the best offensive games the Giants had were when they used Barkley less. That's not to say that we're better off without Barkley. We are not. But you can make the argument that we might have been better off not using him like a bell cow workhorse running back, because he's not. He's better with limited touches.
You're right.
He's better with being pass the ball to him and stuff like that. And I think this is part of the concern the Giants have.
But you also got to remember too, it's like a lot of those games, they like just ran the clock because they were running the ball. So you're not going to have as much time to get points up on the board. But you're all right. He can't be running for 30 times a game. Was that Houston when he was 28?
It was like, insane.
Yeah.
It was absolutely insane, that game. And like I said, I'm not trying to say that we're better off with that, and we're not. What I'm saying is we may be better off with the less of him. He might be better off with the less of him.
I think you're 100% right there, too.
So that's one thing to look at this season, because I'm telling you right now, if they just go ahead and use him nonstop and beat him there at that point, then that's something that you're going to look at and think, they're not going to go ahead and they're not going to go ahead and keep him like that way long term, because they're not going to use him like that and then go ahead and re-sign him when he's already had so many touches over the last couple of years. But we'll see. I think there's a couple questions that most people are asking that I'm seeing over and over again across social media. So I want to kind of address some of those. The big one is, who's to blame? Who are you blaming, Rob?
I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not really blaming anyone.
Oh, go for it. You got so many fingers. Point away. Point away.
Listen, I think both parties, you can point the finger either way, but in the reality of it, it was Barkley didn't look at the writing around the NFL, seeing how much running backs are not getting paid, and he still asked for more money. And the Giants said no. He should have just took the offer like week 9, if you will. He probably should have took it right after the season when he probably had like 13.5 at one point, and it went off. He probably should have said yes then. But he held out, thinking he was doing the right thing. So, I'm pointing fingers at the guy for trying to make more money. But the Giants also said they're trying to free up cap space. They're not going to try to guarantee money.
So, the one I keep on hearing everywhere is, and I've listened to a couple of people who had their instant take on it right off the bat as well, to kind of see where people's heads are at as far as this. The one I keep on hearing the blame go to is his agent.
Did he switch agents too in the middle of the deal?
He added his old agent back into the mix.
Did he?
But I keep on hearing people say the agent was the one who gave him bad advice. The agent did this. Listen, it doesn't take a goddamn genius to sit there and say the highest paid running back this offseason was 4 years, $25 million. They're offering me 3 years, $39 million, whatever. I should take this damn deal. That doesn't take a freaking genius to figure that out. I'm sorry. I think Giant fans had this love for Barkley that they don't want to say that. And they want to blame the agent instead. I can love the way Barkley plays the game. I can root for the man because he's a Giant. But I can also sit there and say he screwed himself.
Yeah, listen.
And I think that's what happened.
You're going to buy a brand new car, and they turn around and tell you it's going to cost you $50,000 when you sit there and get it for $24,000. Why would you not?
Yeah. And I think what happened was the big quote you kept on hearing all offseason. Oh, Saquon said he doesn't want to reset the market. He doesn't want to reset the market. No, he just wanted to match top of the market. And top of the market just isn't there. Keep in mind, this was a non-exclusive tag. If he thought it was elsewhere, go take it somewhere else. Other teams could have signed him. Nobody wants to pay a running back $16 million a year, Saquon. Right or wrong, and I'm not even arguing the right or wrong part of it. This is the pure logistics of it. It's an open market. Open market determines based on what people are willing to pay. Nobody's going to pay $16 million. You got offered top 5 money. Should have taken it. In fact, as a Giant fan, and this is going to sound very anti-Barkley. I'm telling people are going to think I'm an anti-Barkley, and I'm not. As a Giant fan, I think this was the best thing for the Giants possible because now you pay him $10 million, not 11 or 13, $10 million. Now you can relook at this next year because I'm telling you right now, one of two scenarios is going to happen. He's going to have a great season, and people are going to say, "Oh, goddamn, we should have signed this guy long term," and it'll probably get done next year, or he'll get hurt. People are like, "Oh, thank God, I didn't want us to sign him long term anyway." This is what happened.
I mean, that's like I said at the beginning of the podcast. Like, tell me consecutive years that he played like he did last year, his first year. He can't because he hasn't been healthy through the whole. Like, he's been injured half his year so far. So to put money, top 5 money, top tier money into someone that they don't have a good track record with their injury history.
Yeah. I mean,
so you're coming off the stellar year. If you're going to go by predictors of the history, he's probably going to get hurt or he's going to fall off.
And
I don't wish ill on anyone, but that's just, if you're buying something, this is something you have to look at.
I mean, and I know some people are looking at it from the perspective of, oh, well, he ran for more yards this year than he ever ran for before. Well, you got to consider this. He also carried the ball more than he ever did. His rookie year, he averaged 5 yards a carry. His second year, sophomore year, 4.6. This year, 4.4. This is one of those things that I'm telling you at the end of this year, we as Giant fans could sit there, and I hope it doesn't happen. Again, I'm not wishing for this. But we very well could look at this and say, thank God we dodged that bullet. It's a distinct possibility. That's the position that we have here. That's what we got going on. Let's see. We got a couple more comments here. Comments are flowing through. Keep them flowing, guys. Stan says, it's the Todd Jones. It's Todd Jones.
Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley's. I'm looking at his name and the thing next to it. It's the Todd Gurley situation is what changed a lot of the stuff for running backs. Listen, Todd Gurley was damaged goods coming into the NFL. That man was going to have a short career no matter what. Okay,
yeah,
so
crazy arthritis or something.
Yeah, like that was on the Rams for making a stupid move. That's what it boils down to. But it's not just Todd Gurley who had issues.
Yeah, but did they know that? Did they know that going into that contract?
So they got
or is that something that came?
It's not even funny. But he was playing well, and they just signed him, but they didn't protect themselves. So it is what it is. The Rams are stupid. That's all there is to it. King Chris TV says, did you guys think DJ progresses without Barkley or regress if Saquon decides not to play this season? I think it depends what they would do at the position.
DJ gets better. Barkley also plays.
No. What I'm saying is he's asking if how would DJ do if Saquon did not play this year? So
I know. I'm saying
no
DJ will do better, and Saquon will play. I'm not.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Saquon sits. I think it's foolish for him.
No,
He's betting against himself. That's why he said no. That's why he said no on the deal. He's betting. He's betting on himself. So now he's going to go play this year.
We're going to get that in a minute. Don't jump the gun again. You and the guns. You and the guns.
You were the one jumping the gun. I was sidestepping it.
No, I was jumping these guns. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, if Barkley doesn't play, what happens to Daniel Jones depends on who plays the running back. If you want Matt Breida in there, your starting running back, yeah, sure, he's probably going to regress. But if you got a couple of Matt Breidas, you can make the
right.
I'm just saying you can make the conclusion that it'd be a drop off, but how big a drop off? This is why the running back position isn't the position it's in. Connor says, yes, Christian's dad played for us, but I wonder how he would have done for us. And when contract time came for re-upping, what would he have made, or would they not sign him like they're doing with Barkley or just tag? Oh, you're saying if we had signed Christian McCaffrey, would they have done the same thing? Well, keep in mind, again, Christian McCaffrey re-signed a couple of years ago before this started playing out like it has. So who knows? But again, Christian McCaffrey got traded by the Panthers. The Niners haven't paid him anything yet. So everybody wants to talk about him as the high-paying one that's working out. No one's paid him yet, at least in San Francisco.
I can.
Exactly. Mark says his agents for misleading Barkley. Again, Barkley could be a man, can sit in the big boy chair, and say, this is stupid. I shouldn't do this. I'm sorry. I'm going to hold him accountable for his own actions. My dad says Dable and Shane would rather use the Buffalo blueprint for offense based on passing and not emphasizing the running back. If DJ is not good enough, then it could get ugly. But in today's NFL, you would have to be able to score points quickly. You have to be able to score points quickly and often. And that could be part of it as well. We got to look at the perspective of, is it possible the Giants just want one more year of Barkley to help DJ, and then next year tell him, you're on your own, dude? Because keep in mind, we can get out of the Barkley deal. The Daniel Jones deal in 2 years. Correct. So you got 1 year with Saquon, 1 year without to see what you really got in Jones when he's by himself. And if that doesn't work out, you're out of the deal, and you're looking for a QB that doesn't require a running back. It's possible that's what they're thinking. Only Joe Shane knows. Well, I guess Dable too. Mark says Giants better be shopping Barkley at trade deadline unless we are 8-2. He will not be a Giant after this year. What kind of trade value are you expecting for a guy that nobody wants? I'm not trying to be cruel about it. I'm just being blunt and honest about it. We're just being Jersey here. Like, nobody wants him.
No one wants him for the money he wants.
No, but I'm saying, what kind of draft pick can you get for a guy that's going to make, let's say, for half the year, $5 million, and then you'll never see him again? Get a 5th round pick? 4th round pick? You're not going to get multiple ones for a guy for half a year.
You would have to get a team that's going to a Super Bowl run, playoff run.
I'm saying, I don't see it happening. Let's see. We got King Chris TV says, I think we're going to see less of Saquon fighting for yards and more of him getting out of bounds or just sliding and getting down. I can see where people be worried about that. I don't think that's Saquon. And this is where I get into where I'm not a Saquon hater. I think he's the guy who does everything right. And this is one of those cases where he's going to do the right thing because he's not going to disrespect the fans, his teammates, his coaching staff in that way. I really just don't see it. King Chris TV says, I honestly just think he wanted the same guaranteed money as the Christian and Kamara deal. And listen, he can want that all he wants. I want a couple $1 million. But in the end, I ain't going to get it. He ain't going to get it. That's life. Let's see. Stan Jones says, I really think they know about Jones, and that is why they structured his contract the way they did with the way to get out in 2 years. It was a risky move for Shane Dable. No, I think they're just still saying, hey, we need to see more growth. We'll give you the money if you show the growth. And that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see. Connor says, okay, that cabinet above Roberto's head opened again. Look out, Roberto. Get out. Your house is haunted.
Oh, God.
Let's see. Joe Mag says, McCaffrey making $16 million. He's not. He averages $16 million a year on his deal. The 49ers are paying him only just a few $1 million a year.
Like 3.5,
That's all they're
4,
paying him.
like
Yeah.
that.
Again, numbers get moved around. They're not paying, the money at that point. Ironically enough, as I go to look it up, it's on my search history so easily because I've already had to, look this up multiple times here. So his 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's got 4 years on the deal overall. Okay. His cap number this year overall, let's see, 2023 is $3.4 million, guys. 3.4. Now, if the 49ers cut him, it's 10.7 against the cap. So yeah, they're not gonna cut him. They're gonna pay him $3.5 million and call it a day. Now next year, they have to pay him $14.1 million. Keep in mind, this is all non-signing bonus stuff because of the fact that the signing bonus and the guaranteed money from the signing bonus was already paid by the Carolina Panthers. So $14 million. They save 8.5 if they cut him. This is why I'm saying if McCaffrey is a 49er next year, it's because they restructured this deal big time. I'm telling you that right now. Let's see here. Connor says, Drew with the guns pose. LMFAO. Oh, yeah. Which way's the beach? I live on a peninsula, so it's either direction. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Connor says that Hooked on Phonics is working out really good for you, Drew. Hooked on Phonics did not work for me at all. I say it point blank. Salvatore Modica, what's up, man? Says, I think the Giants are going to regret not getting this deal with Barkley. He was DJ's safety blanket. I mean, that's part of it. But again, if
you can make the same argument about Bellinger, you can make the same argument about Isaiah Hodgins, you can make the same argument about a lot of other players that he fighted in. But he stood. That being said, look at mid-season. DJ still threw up some numbers when Barkley was off the field.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. My thing overall, though. Again, I revert back to what we said a minute ago. If he requires Saquon to be good, he's not the long-term quarterback. Point blank. I'd rather learn that and move on. I'd rather learn and move on. I'd rather learn that he is the guy. But don't get me wrong. But if that's the options of holding on to Barkley forever just to keep Jones going, or learning that Jones is someone we need to move on from, then I want to learn that Jones is someone to move on from, because we're not going to keep Barkley forever. He's 26 years old right now. He'll be 27 next year. Got a couple years, guys. That's it. History tells us that. At least modern history tells us that. I hate to say it that way.
20.
For a guy who's basically young enough to be like my son, like if I was like a 14-year-old guy having a kid, but I mean, teenage dad show on MTV. Let's see. We got Mark says Super Bowl run teams, indoor teams with inter running backs like Cincy loses. Mixon or Buffalo is all in. I mean, like I said, I'm still mixed in the position because you can look at it and go, okay, the top 4 teams last year. Kansas City doesn't care at all about their running backs. Let's be honest, they don't.
Yeah.
They want running backs. They don't want a running back they got to pay for.
Correct. The rookie out of Rutgers.
Rutgers. The Scarlet Knight. You could sit there and say that Buffalo does not care whatsoever. You could sit there and say, though, that Cincinnati does. You can sit there and say that Philadelphia does. They cut. Obviously, they let Miles Sanders go, but they got, Rashard Penny. They traded for the kid from Detroit. They went ahead and made sure they had running backs. Then you got a team like San Francisco who's loaded up on running backs as well. So there's teams doing it both ways, but the teams that are doing it with running backs are falling up short. They're falling short. Is it they haven't just broken through yet, or is it because it's not as
I
good
don't
a
know
plan?
if San Francisco was correct now. There was other things working there.
Oh, I said,
quarterback.
but they've had a good running game the last couple of years. It's not like this was the first year. This is the first year they had McCaffrey, but they've had a good running game overall the last couple of years. So, like I said, we'll have to see. I mean, it's just saying they're both
Carolina.
Both things. What about Carolina?
They had Christian McCaffrey for a long time. So how well that worked for him.
Didn't go very far, that's for sure. Let's see. My dad says some team going all in for this year or who loses their running back may overvalue Barkley at the trade deadline. Even if they overvalue him, though, what am I going to get? A 4th round pick?
That's what
instead of a 5th or a 6th? I don't see the value, guys. I don't see the value in trading Saquon Barkley because I think it's safe to say that if Saquon goes to the team hypothetically at the end of the year, say end of next year, okay, we don't keep Saquon, whatever, he gets a decent deal from somebody else. We're going to get a comp pick. If you're going to trade away Barkley, you better get a better pick than your comp pick would have been. This is why we don't always trade away guys who are on expiring deals. Let's see. Joe Manick says, Le'Veon Bell learned fast. I don't know if he learned anything fast except for how to play the game, and that's the problem. If he just learned things outside of the game into the business aspect, he'd be better off. King Chris TV says, DJ losing Barkley is kind of like taking the training wheels off a bike. Dude, that very well could be the comment of the night right there.
Fantastic.
That's a great analogy, man. Seriously, that's spot on. Absolutely spot on. Book and Tackle says to GG, fist pump, man. What's up, man? Let's see. Mark says, but at the time of trade deadline, would we not have already paid most of his salary by then? Again, everything's based on per check, and it also depends on when he shows up to camp, or when he shows up to play, which we'll get to in a minute there. And he says, or he walks free after this year. Again, nothing's free. There's always the comp picks. King Chris TV says, come on, Saquon is worth a second. A second pick? A second round pick? I mean, let's look at trades here. I'm trying to think of at the top of my head a trade that netted a second round pick. And pretty much always in my head is either a quarterback, DeAndre Hopkins comes to mind with the Arizona trade. Are we saying that DeAndre Hopkins, the top wide receiver, has the same value of a few games as Saquon?
And we already talked about how wide receivers are already overinflated. What's he getting paid? $20 million average? Whatever it is? Yeah.
Saquon long term is worth a second, but I don't think if somebody signs for him, like trades for him, that they're going to keep him long term. I think that, it's going to be a good fight there. Let's see. John S. Anderson says, we can't trade Barkley unless he signs tag first, right? Yes, that's 100% correct. So let's get on to the topic of when do we think we'll see Barkley, because that's the next thing. When will he sign the tag? When will we see Barkley? What do you think, Rob?
I'm going to go on Instagram and see him working out again.
I'm sorry. Your mic was breaking up there a little bit.
I said I'm going to go on Instagram to look at him right now. No, I think he's going to hold out for a little bit, but he'll play regularly.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he might have to show up for some camps, which is actually, I think, in the long term better. Put some less tread on the tires.
Yes, 100%.
Less chance of injury.
I think you're going to see him either right after the final preseason game or literally right before the first week of football. I don't think he's going to miss a single game. I really don't. And like you said, this could be better for him because he's going to come in fresh. I mean, are any of us really worried that Saquon Barkley is not going to be healthy and ready to go if he's training on his own? Do we think that anybody thinks that this guy is not going to be in tip-top shape? This is a guy who's like, we're seeing him on like more like Instagram workout videos and pictures than anybody else in the league right now.
He's on his revenge bod.
Yeah.
Him and the Giants it's complicated, so he's getting that summer body back.
And I honestly think that the big thing for me is that, again, he's going to make the issue. He's going to make a stink because he has to. He has to make a stink. Because here's why. Because if he doesn't do that, Because they were like, why would he do that? You can't sign him to a long-term deal now after the season anyway. He needs to use every single bit of cards he has to stop the Giants from wanting to do this again next year. He wants to leave an impression with Joe Shane and the Giants saying, listen, you want to F with me? I'm going to F with you right back. That's what he has. That's his options he has left at this point. So
he's got to go show him what it's worth. That's what it is.
I think personally that he will go ahead and he'll be ready to go for the first week out of respect for his teammates, his coaching staff, and for his fans. I really think that's what's going to happen because I do actually think highly of him as a person. And I think that's going to matter to him. I really do. But
100%.
We'll see. Time will tell. We'll have to see what goes on there overall because we could be wrong. I thought this deal would also get done. Never did. I didn't think Saquon would be looking for top dollar like that. Thought he'd be smart enough to realize that no one gets that anymore. I was wrong. Maybe a little less working out, a little more studying guy.
You said the wrong numbers.
Yes.
He did the plate math, the 45-pound plate math, instead of doing his actual due diligence.
All right, let's go a couple more comments here before we go on here for the night. Let's see. King Chris TV says, won't see him suit up till week 2, I believe. I'm telling you right now, if he doesn't suit up against the Cowboys, whoa, you want to talk about fans revolting on a player. That's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen because, you don't not show up for the Giants versus Cowboys game. That is a really, really, really bad move. On top of that, that's a home game. It's the home opener. I think if it was an away game, it's more likely. I don't think there's a chance that he misses that game. I really don't. And obviously, I have no inside info, just personal opinion based on reading people what it is. And I'll say this as well. I've said multiple times, I think very highly of Saquon. But I also think that Saquon's one of those guys that cares what other people think of him.
It's his image. Like,
look at how you tell me one time that you've seen Saquon Barkley ever not look like he just stepped out from a stylist and everything like that. I know I'm being serious for a minute though, because
I'm dead serious too. Like,
he cares about his image. You can tell that.
Yeah.
And people who care about their image don't want people to hate him. They don't want people to hate him. And he knows the Giants fans. We are a fickle crowd. Let's be honest and call ourselves like we are. We are a fickle crowd. And if you don't show up against one of our most hated rivals, tied for our most hated rivals with the Eagles, home opener. Yeah. If we lose that game especially, don't even show up the rest of the season.
Yeah.
It won't go well. It won't go well. Let's see. We got Beef says, if he waits to the last minute to come into camp, they may not even play him. Any other position but running back, I would agree. He knows the playbook. And even if they add a new play, for the most part, it's okay, you got the A gap, B gap, or C gap. This is where you run it. It's one of the easiest positions in the entire NFL to play as far as that aspect of it. It's other parts, obviously, routes and stuff like that, and pass blocking that's much more difficult. But purely from a running standpoint, it's pretty much this is where you go. Let's see. My dad says, I can see Barkley signing a few days before the Dallas game and not being ready to play. I hope not, for his sake. King Chris TV says, exactly, though I don't know which exactly he's giving. I'm hoping not to the prior comment on YouTube from Dakota, one of our regular here that happens to be the Eagle fan, because I didn't put up his comment there because he was very pro Eagles. Let's see. Stan says Saquon has been at MetLife drinking his complimentary Pepsi from the Mara and Tish family. Listen, that's a medium Pepsi. Let's be very clear on that as well. Medium Pepsi. Dakota, here we go. Now a comment from Dakota we can put up here. He says, trade Saquon. Charger trade. We're not giving. the Chargers would have to. Yeah, no. Why would they pay Saquon if they're not going to pay Austin Eckler? They won't do that. They won't do that.
That's a very good question.
John says, who started free agency croc, LOL, ruin the game, LOL. You want to make money to play football for us? Sign here. Oh, you want more money? You don't want to pay for this amount? The guy behind you will, LOL. Here's the thing. I'm going to disagree with that part, John, because we talked about it before. As much as I want Giants players to just sign on the dotted line and keep going, they're getting paid by billionaires. They're making tons of money off their name and likeness. They deserve the cut. Point blank. Especially a football player who has the shortest career of anybody else. Body takes more damage than anybody else. Football players make every damn penny that earn every damn penny that they make. This is not like baseball players that just stand in the grass for a couple hours and swing the bat a couple times. I'm sorry, not trying to be disrespectful to baseball guys, because I know it's not quite as easy as that. But if you're telling me that a baseball player works harder than a football player, no way in hell. No way in hell. I mean, you have to look no further than Babe Ruth and Big Papi to know that you can play baseball when you're not in shape. I'm sorry.
Touche.
When the best player ever of your sport is a big fat guy with a hot dog in his hand.
Who's also drunk.
He's also drunk. Thank you for helping that situation. Let's see. Dakota says, told you guys he should have been traded 2 months ago. Nope, I still disagree. I still think it's the right move we're doing now. He's going to play on the tag for 1 year. We'll kick the can down the road and figure it out then. Stan says, the Niners and Dallas of the 90s is what made a salary cap come into effect. Listen, salary cap need to happen. What happened is, in the end, was selfish owners didn't want to pay players the proper amounts. What actually got the salary cap in? I will always back the workers, man. Bookend Tackle says, I think he and Jacobs are trying to stand up for the overall running back market. See, I don't think that. I think that Jacobs and the Chargers, Jacob and the Raiders is a much different scenario. I think that the Raiders and him just don't get along right now. I really do. I think if anybody's going to be traded, it's going to be him. That's what I personally think. Actually, I can put this up. He didn't say anything positive about the Eagles. He just says Eagles running back room, $5 million. Yeah. Which is weird because only $1 million more would have kept you Miles Sanders. Just saying. Stan says Barkley will definitely keep the persona of being tough, smart, and dependable. I don't know if I can call him smart anymore. Not trying to be a jerk about it, but could have taken the deal. Didn't take the deal. I can't say that's a smart move. John says, let's sign Zeke Elliott, then fire him for shit and giggles. That's not going to help the cap situation, that's for sure. No. All right, we got a couple more comments, then we're going to get going here. Book and Tackles. Giants want more than a third for him, and teams that did call to test the water weren't offering more than a third, so I don't see a trade. They're fine with the tag from the Giants' perspective. 100% agree with you, man. The trade value is not there, and I do think 100% that they're fine with it. They're perfectly fine with keeping them that way. And then Stan, just a couple of laughing emojis. I'm assuming at John Anderson there. Don't encourage him, Stan. Don't encourage him. He doesn't need any. He doesn't need any of them. Beef says sometimes new coaches and GMs like to teach a lesson. That's part of it. That's part of it. Dakota's LOL. Austin Eckler is a Saquon. No, I wouldn't say that. Saquon's a much better player than Austin Eckler is. But what I'm saying is if they're not going to pay Austin Eckler, a running back that fits their system, they know fits their system, they're not going to pay Saquon. They've already decided that. That's my again, I could be wrong. My personal opinion there. King Chris TV, I feel like running backs shouldn't be allowed to franchise tag and should be drafted with 3-year contracts maxed. Actually, I was thinking the same exact idea today. I really was thinking the same exact idea. And I also think that they should have to pay them potentially more money. Because this is their only chance to make money is the beginning. I think the exception should be made for them, which actually might hurt their draft status overall. That's the problem. The owners are just selfish, rich pricks, so that's what they keep on doing. Is there's like, we're not going to pay you. We're going to do it this way instead. That's life, though. That's like all of us. We all deal
Let's
with
figure out how to
people
skim
that
up the top.
Exactly. John says, still a business. This is what we will offer you, and it's fair. Some guys never get the opportunity, so if no other guy will be at the door, thanks to the memories. Then I don't want to go that far. Dakota says, Chargers are a contender, and Eckler is iffy at times. Saquon would make that big arm easier to shoot. I don't know. I don't know about that. My dad says Jacobs had a career year, but he also had 395 touches last year. Look up what running backs with that many touches have done the next year. Yeah, and that's part of it. I wouldn't want to pay a guy for a career year. That's for sure. Dakota says, WTF, $1 million would have kept Miles Sanders. We have 4 great running backs. What 4 great running backs do you have, Dakota? Seriously. Let's honestly look at
it back there.
Yeah, I mean, Boston Scott is only great against the Giants. It's the only team he plays well against. You know, you got Penny, who I like as a player overall, but he's coming off an injury and hasn't been dependable overall, therefore, as a running back. DeAndre Swift, yeah, no. Kenneth Gainwell, he might end up being your starter when it's all said and done. I'm just saying, it's not like you have 4 great running backs like you're trying to make it now. No, just stop. He says, hope you guys have a good night. That's ridiculous. Listen, you got to stop being delusional, Dakota. You got to stop being delusional because that's what that is. And John, as we close this out with the comments here, has a request. He wants us to sing a song. Turn around, bright eyes. Every now and then I fall apart.
More than ever.
So, like I said, I think we're gonna call it a night on that note. But again, we'll be back on as usual Wednesday and Thursday night. So we have already ready to go for you guys as we can continue our series of the top Giants at each position here. We are ready to go with the cornerback position here, going with the top corners to ever play in a Giants uniform. We also may come back with something else entirely different, depending on what happens this week there with news coming out of how this went down and stuff like that. We might have more stuff breaking as far as that, even though it'd be nothing we can do about it at that point. It's still nice to look at what happened and what was behind the scenes. On top of that, again, we'll be back on Thursday as well. So Thursday, a little something special planned for y'all. And I say y'all because we're going to do a travel guide for those of us that are looking at the away games this year. A Giants travel guide going over all the places the Giants have played this year, some stuff you can do at those places there for those who are traveling with the team. And I say y'all because they are going to New Orleans this year. It's one of the spots. Saying, don't stay on Bourbon Street. It smells like puke. But like I said, we'll go over that stuff with you on Thursday. Like I said, Wednesday we'll talk about the corners unless something big news-wise pops down or some more info comes in the Saquon thing, or if Saquon happens to sign the tag, whatever. We'll be on Wednesday either way with one of those two. And like I said, of course, we are on, as always, with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. Oh, yes, my LinkedIn profile.
Fantastic.
It's a fantastic view of my LinkedIn profile because that's where you get all your sports news from LinkedIn. And the funny thing is, a lot of the people on my LinkedIn profile are from old jobs I had, and that I was networking with people like overseas that probably have no clue what football is whatsoever. So that's even better. I was actually working for an electronics components company, so I was doing a lot of people in like India and China and places like that just don't follow football at all. So fun. They're probably, this isn't soccer at all. This is weird. Where's the rugby game?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So again, as always, we are also available on all the different audio podcast platforms as well. So feel free to check us out over there as well. Usually it goes onto those platforms about an hour or two. We're done here. Just got to edit it down real quick there and get on over to there. And of course, as always, we do have also our sponsorships available here. if you want to go ahead and sponsor the show. Sponsorships start at just $3. Subscriptions start at just $5 a month as well. Get you some extra access to us as well. We're going to have our first Q&A for subscribers coming up at the end of the month as well. So if you haven't subscribed already, go to buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. And like I said, subscriptions there, just $5 a month. At that point, that gets you the extra access to us there. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode here. A lot of fun here. A lot of comments here. If you haven't already hit the like, haven't you already hit the subscribe, or as we like to call it, the subscribe?
The subscribe.
Because it's spelled weird. Subscribe. Hit that bell on YouTube. Hit the like. Hit the follow. Share with a friend, too. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. And again, guys, we appreciate y'all listening. We'll see you all on Wednesday. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man! G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?